Can you believe it? In just 48 hours of conflict, the result of 40 years of building the desert wonder is on the brink of complete destruction. When private jets lined up on the runway, with evacuation ticket prices soaring up to $350,000, the world was shocked to realize a bitter truth. Dubai is experiencing an unprecedented exodus in history. No longer are there skyrocketing growth figures. The first quarter of 2026 recorded a shocking 70% drop in luxury retail revenue, along with a wave of real estate sell-offs that caused the market to evaporate 20% of its value in just 5 days. Why are those who hold the fate of the global economy willing to abandon their tens of millions of dollar mansions to seek refuge in Singapore or Italy? Let's delve into the shocking revelations from the ultra-wealthy themselves to understand why they would rather leave everything behind than stay in this paradise for another minute. Don't miss the journey to uncover the dark truths behind the strategic exodus that is changing the global financial landscape right here. Let's be honest with each other for a moment. Who among us is not enchanted by the perfect round number 0? Personal income tax, 0%. Capital gains tax, 0%. Dubai has built an unparalleled reputation as a safe haven, a fortress where your assets are protected from the collecting hands of governments. It feels like an invitation to an eternal free upper-class banquet. But we all understand an immutable rule. If you don't see the bill, perhaps you are the item on the banquet table. The seeds of the rift begin with that very frictionless structure. An overly lenient system inadvertently creates deadly loopholes in international compliance. And then, the first cold water splash came. A 9% corporate income tax appeared. You might think that 9% is still a paradise compared to the 3, 5, 40% in Europe or the US. But what is frightening is not the number, but the end of an era of anonymity. When the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, began putting Dubai under the microscope, everything changed. Dubai suddenly became a hotspot, targeted by tax authorities such as the UK's HMRC or the US's IRS. For the super rich, this sudden transparency is no different from a stark exposure. You save a few $1 million in taxes in the desert, but face a bill of hundreds of millions back home for violating the non-resident rule. Ironically, Dubai resembles a lavish bank adorned with gold from the lobby to the elevators, yet it forgot to install a security lock thick enough to deter international lawyers. The tycoons suddenly realized that this was merely an economy based on services and speculation, lacking any strategic depth or real industrial foundation to protect them when the storm hits. Adding to that is the brutal 4-8-hour rule. Just one armed attack on critical infrastructure, and the achievements accumulated over 40 years can vanish into smoke and flames. Absolute trust plummets into the abyss in less than a quarter. Your property and supercar insurance premiums skyrocketed by 30% overnight. The savings seem to have been exchanged for a much higher price: long-term financial security. Does a tax-free paradise really exist? Or is it just a deferred debt with an exorbitant interest rate that you only realize when it's too late? Are we really buying freedom? Or are we just renting it from governments with a short-term contract? What do you think about this? Please leave your comments below. I would love to hear the perspectives of those who have experienced the fluctuations of cash flow. But remember, the threat to money is just the beginning. There is something even more terrifying waiting for the billionaires here. Because in Dubai, when your wallet is scrutinized, your body and freedom of movement can also be imprisoned in a gilded cage. For a billionaire, the greatest asset is not real estate or yachts, but the freedom of global mobility. A powerful passport is the key for them to operate their cross-border empire. But imagine, in Dubai, that key can be broken in just a few seconds. The seeds of this nightmare are not new. They have long been embedded in the UAE's legal codes. However, in the context of the turmoil of 2026, they have become a sharp weapon. That is the mechanism of the exit ban. You can be stopped right at the airport security checkpoint just because of an unresolved civil dispute, an unpaid debt, or even a bounced check. The surprise is often terrifying. Many high-end guests only realize they have become prisoners when standing in front of the private jet door. It is an ironic reality. You can own a $50 million penthouse overlooking the entire city, but you cannot step outside its borders. Dubai right now resembles a luxury casino, where the house warmly welcomes you in for free, but to leave, you need a permission that sometimes money can't buy. The suffocation also comes from the fact that free trade zone authorities have the power to issue enforcement orders or request Interpol red notices without going through traditional Western civil court procedures. Even if you are just in transit, old complaints can still lead to your immediate arrest. The legal system, once praised as capital-friendly, has suddenly revealed itself to be a golden cage full of traps. Because of the fear of being permanently confined, many billionaires have chosen to preemptively flee before any minor disputes can escalate. Lawyers in Singapore report that requests for asset transfers have surged by 40% in just one peak week. The sudden departure of the super-rich has caused spending on luxury goods here to plummet dramatically by 60% to 70%. Perhaps by now, the ultra-rich have realized that, no matter how gilded or diamond-studded the cage is, it is still a cage. What is the meaning of a luxurious life if you don't have the right to open the door and step into the world as you wish? Are we confusing attentive service with strict supervision from the house? Are you willing to trade freedom of movement for a life without taxes? Let me know your choice. But when the legal doors close, the curtains of secrecy surrounding the flow of money also begin to be torn apart, revealing the truth about the so-called security here. Imagine Dubai over the past 2 decades as a gigantic mirror wall in the desert. Outside it sparkles, reflecting wealth and power, dazzling the world. But behind that wall, there is an ideal hidden paradise, where the flow of money can reside, thrive without ever being questioned about its birth certificate or origin. Anonymity is the most practical currency here. But the world is changing, and the mirrored walls are starting to become transparent. Under the suffocating pressure from international oversight organizations like FATF, Dubai is forced to change the rules of the game if it doesn't want to be isolated on the blacklist. And that is when the era of financial anonymity in the Gulf officially comes to an end. The files that were once tightly sealed suddenly became hotspots for global tax investigations. Did you know that over 1,300 billionaires have quietly left Dubai to choose Italy as their new haven? Why Italy, a place known for its complex tax system? The answer is very simple. Italy offers a transparent flat tax of 100,000 euros. The ultra-rich prefer to pay a clear price to legalize secrecy rather than stay in a place where confidentiality can be revoked at any time under political pressure. Not only individuals but also family offices, entities managing vast fortunes, are making strategic migrations to Singapore and Switzerland. They have come to a bitter realization. 40 years of building a magnificent infrastructure can have trust wiped away in just 48 hours of political turmoil. A place once praised as a safe haven now seems to be labeled as a high-risk point on the map of risk managers. The real estate index, plummeting by 20% in just 5 trading sessions at the beginning of 2026, is the clearest evidence of this awakening. The ultra-wealthy suddenly realized that true wealth does not lie in the dancing numbers in digital banks, but in the right to keep secrets legally within an ancient legal system. When anonymity is lost, Dubai's allure dissipates as quickly as the morning mist in the desert. But there is a reality even harsher than losing financial secrecy, because when the cash flow truly dries up, those magnificent towers begin to reveal a facade that no real estate exchange dares to mention. There is a silent fear enveloping the most dazzling boulevards on the planet. Iconic areas like Palm Jumeirah or downtown Dubai, once the center of bustling activity, have suddenly become eerily deserted. Dubai seems to be becoming a grand theater stage, but the main actors have left midway, leaving behind an empty auditorium and tattered velvet curtains. This exodus did not happen quietly. It is identified by shocking numbers. Tens of thousands of affluent residents left the city in less than 2 weeks since the upheaval erupted in early 2026. A frenzy for private jets erupted, with emergency evacuation tickets to Oman or Riyadh skyrocketing to a record $350,000. For the super-rich, money is no longer an issue. The issue is time to escape from a place that is no longer safe. The atmosphere of fear has darkened places that were once never asleep. The bars, beaches, and luxury clubs are now engulfed in silence. The irony lies in the fact that a city built entirely on high-end services suddenly finds itself with no one to serve. Sales of luxury goods at major shopping centers have collapsed by 60% to 70%. The fragments of fire falling onto the Fairmont Hotel and other architectural landmarks not only caused material damage, but also shattered the last remaining faith in the invulnerable air defense system. The seaside villas, once the desire of millions, are now just abandoned risks. The widespread panic caused the DFM market index to lose 20% of its value in just 5 trading sessions as investors trampled over each other to cut their losses. The elite have sent a clear message. Dubai is just a temporary stopover, and they are always ready to leave at the first whiff of instability. The glass towers still stand firm, but the soul of prosperity has flown away with the last private jets of the day. No longer the roar of supercars, only the sound of desert winds sweeping through the empty hotel lobbies. The houses bought for speculation, never having a single day of human presence, have now become financial burdens lying still in the dark. A modern ghost town seems to take no more than 48 hours of conflict to reveal its hollow shell, rather than hundreds of years to form. Is a house really a home if your neighbors are just soulless glass walls? Are we too busy building cities to showcase a dream that will never come true instead of a real place to live? But when the lights of the city go out and the crowds gradually thin, nature seems to begin reclaiming what humans have brutally taken with concrete and ambition. There is an ironic truth that we often forget. Nature doesn't care how many $1 billion you have in your account. Dubai, the city that claims to be the smartest in the world, home to skyscrapers and artificial islands stretching out to the sea, seems to be paying the price for its own arrogance. The deluge in April 2024 was not just an extreme weather phenomenon, it is a slap in the face of the dream of a perfect future. The images of Rolls-Royce and Lamborghini cars now floating aimlessly on the floodwaters like plastic toys have exposed the fundamental weaknesses of an urban infrastructure system built too quickly but lacking sustainability. The seeds of this collapse do not only come from the sky, but also from the depths of the ocean. To create the shimmering palm leaf-shaped islands, thousands of hectares of coral reefs were brutally buried, coastal ecosystems were destroyed, and ocean currents were permanently altered. What is the result? Erosion is silently gnawing at the foundations of the very seaside villas that the ultra-rich have spent tens of millions of dollars to own. In the most painful way, humans have truly built castles on the sand both literally and figuratively. The paradox lies in the $8.2 billion Tazreef drainage project. It promises to solve all problems, but it can only be completed in 2033. For billionaires, who are used to getting everything with just a snap of their fingers, waiting 10 years for a basic drainage system is an affront to their patience. Currently, 50% high-end real estate buyers consider flood resistance as the top priority criterion rather than sea view. The cost of insurance for cars and homes here has skyrocketed by 30%, eroding the economic advantage of residing here. The super-rich are starting to feel that the excessive artificiality, the suffocating blocks of glass and steel, are becoming more of an environmental risk than a luxury. They are tending to return to Milan or the Italian countryside, where the infrastructure has been tested over centuries and nature still maintains its original rhythm. Will technology ever truly conquer nature, or are we just using money to delay an inevitable failure? What is the boundary between conquering the world and invading our own living environment? Smart capital inherently has no nationality. It is like a flock of migratory birds, not loyal to any land, but only loyal to safety and optimal living conditions. When the sky of Dubai began to be tainted by smoke and legal cracks, those birds did not hesitate. They spread their wings to seek sanctuaries with deeper substance than the glittering surface of sand and glass. Look at Italy, a name that no one thought could compete with Dubai in terms of taxes. But the reality is proving otherwise. More than 1,300 billionaires have chosen Milan and Rome as their new destinations. Why? Because the flat tax policy of 100,000 euros per year is too cheap a price to pay for the stability of the European Union. The ancient palaces in Milan are quickly becoming the perfect alternative to the soulless penthouses in Dubai. Here, they have history, they have culture, and most importantly, they have a legal system that doesn't change overnight. Meanwhile, in the East, Singapore is consolidating its position as the Switzerland of Asia. Just in one peak week of the 2026 conflict, requests to transfer assets to Singapore surged by 40%. The elite flock here, not for the skyscrapers, something Dubai has in abundance, but for the genuine political neutrality and an absolute security network. The most bitter irony perhaps comes from Dubai's very neighbor, Saudi Arabia. With Vision 2030, Riyadh is filling the gap left by Dubai by positioning itself as a real economy. They don't just sell tourism services, they have industry, military strength, and strategic depth enough to protect family offices from geopolitical upheavals. The billionaires suddenly realized they need a fortress with real strength, not an island surrounded by hollow promises. Switzerland or Monaco are still there, maintaining their positions as tops. Capital is flowing back to places with long-established legal systems, where peace is secured by strength rather than fragile compromise. The world is not lacking in paradises, but after the migration of 2026, the billionaires learned a valuable lesson. A true paradise must have solid walls. Can a nation be built solely with money, or does it need a historical soul and stability to endure through the storms? Does rapid wealth always come with rapid collapse as a natural law? I want to hear your opinions. If you had to choose between a 1,000-year-old futuristic city and a 1,000-year-old ancient city to invest in, which one would you trust? After all the relocations, the numbers, and the real estate contracts, the only thing left is not gold and silver, but valuable lessons about the most powerful invisible asset. In the end, when the statistics have cooled and the private jets have vanished beyond the desert horizon, we realize a stark truth. The most valuable asset that Dubai lost was not the billions of dollars in revenue or the damaged towers. It is trust. In the world of the elite, trust is like a finely crafted crystal. It takes decades to hone, but just one crack from the smoke of a rocket fire, and that crystal seems forever irreparably damaged. The reminder from 2026 is sharp and bitter. Prosperity built on an unstable geopolitical foundation is extremely fragile. The reluctant human shields in seaside villas have sent a clear message to the world. Genuine peace and security are more valuable than any tax incentives or short-term financial benefits. We are witnessing the end of an era. Dubai will still exist. The glass towers will still sparkle under the harsh sun of the Gulf, but its status as an absolute safe haven has vanished. There is a painful paradox when artificial luxury becomes an environmental burden and legal privileges turn into traps that imprison their very owners. The lesson of the Sand Foundation has revealed that artificial neutrality cannot withstand the harsh reality of modern warfare. The dream of an inviolable paradise has shattered. Symbols like Fairmont or Palm Jumeirah now not only carry architectural beauty, but also bear the scars of history and the solitude of a bygone era. The world seems to no longer look at Dubai as a model of miraculous development, but rather as a lesson in rapid growth lacking strategic depth. Capital is finding its way back to financial orders based on genuine peace. The ultra-rich have left, taking with them the sometimes illusory prosperity of a delusional era. The image of a solitary private jet taking off as the sun sets over the desert, leaving behind thousands of glass towers silent in the darkness, perhaps represents the most complete ending to this story. After all, should we invest in fleeting, glamorous values or in enduring values over time? And finally, what truly makes you feel safe? A full bank account or a peaceful and free piece of land to belong to? Leave your thoughts below. I always read and appreciate every perspective from those who've experienced the ups and downs of the era. If you find that this investigative journey offers you a different perspective on the nature of prosperity, please support us by press like so that this video can reach those who share the same concerns as you. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episodes in the series analyzing the silent collapses on the world map. Share this content with friends who you think need a more sober view of the paradise Dubai. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on estimated figures, research reports, and risk analysis scenarios within the hypothetical context of 2026. The information provided is for educational, entertainment, and critical thinking purposes only, and should not be considered professional investment, legal, or financial advice. Any personal decisions based on this content are entirely the responsibility of the viewer. We respect neutrality and do not target any specific individuals or organizations in an extreme manner.